Okay, guys, I think you're appreciate your bearing with me here. I'm just trying to get back into the studio. Okay, so I think I'm back in, and I appreciate it. I never had that happen where the hourglass was frozen, but it might be because I was trying to play with the sound. But anyway, let me talk about the why I disagree with something that Peter Sands wrote of BIMCO on government intervention into ocean freight rates, and it's pretty fascinating. So let's go back to the share screen. And we should be golden. We talked about Amazon, and I went down for just this sound effect. Peter, we love you, but you got this one wrong. If I click it, it's my favorite sound effect. I used to be a big Howard Stern fan. I haven't listened to Howard in a long time, but he had Ringo Starr on, and Ringo refused to sign autographs anymore. And so they play this clip, inconsistently on the show. Here we go.
Peace and love, peace and love.
Yep. Again.
Peace and love, peace and love.
Yeah, it was worth it. It was worth it. Peter, we love you, but you got this one wrong. And what did he get wrong? Well, what he got wrong is I'm going to show you an interview that he did with S&P Global Platts. And it's pretty interesting, right? Talk about Peter's interview. And it was talking about the container freight rates remaining elevated through the rest of the year, right? So this is Peter's interview. And you see here, container freight rates may remain elevated through 2020. BIMCO and Peter Sands is being interviewed by several authors of S&P Global Platts, right? And Peter says here, here's what I disagree with him. And so does John Monroe. Peter, what are your views on the recent intervention by U.S. and Chinese authorities on high freight rates and blank sailings? And Peter says, this marks an unprecedented and unwarranted intervention from any government. It is fair for authorities to monitor the state of competition on a global scale, but not for them to intervene in international business like this. Peter, we love you, but it's kind of you're not living La Vida Loca there. You're just not in the mainstream. I think that government intervention here is the right thing to do. If you think about it, with the China MOT and other China authorities getting involved to regulate blank sailings and try to put the halt or squash the GRIs that were on tap for last month, you have to look at other, seminal moments when authorities get involved in major situations. Take the demurrage and detention situation in the U.S., where the Federal Maritime Commission did get involved. So there are seminal moments where, governments have to intervene to save the different vertical importers and exporters from pain points of extra costs and expense. And right now, not only do you have the China MOT, but you also have the FMC, looking very closely. They haven't done anything to take action on ocean freight rates, but they are looking at it very strategically. And I think that when you look at this from a non-economist perspective, right, and you say it's not fair, that the government intervene. Well, if you think about it, right, who's absorbing the ocean freight price increases? It's the consumer. At the end of the day, retailers and importers are, just paying through the nose on their budget. They're breaking their budget. And at some point, these costs have to be passed on to the consumer. Now, the consumer is relatively broke in some regards, but they are looking for federal relief. And I think that, one of the things that we have to look at is if that federal relief doesn't come into the magnitude that we think it will be, the party might be over quite quickly. And I know that if you look at the whole cycle of ocean freight, right, for example, Zim Lines just paid one of the highest charter rates, $31,000 a day or so, to lease a ship for that express LA China route. And so everything is raised right now in the environment. The charter rates are high. that the charter and the lease companies, because most shipping companies, they don't own all their vessels, right? They have to lease them. And so unchecked, these ocean rates would be going to 41, 42. Hell, they still are with guarantees and premium space allocations and premium space fees that are being charged. But these all go back onto the consumer. I mean, I did a study for Macy's some years back, and if a sweater is, if the ocean freight component of a sweater in normal times is 17 cents, and now it's 83 cents. Who do you think that extra buck is going to be potentially passed on in order to make up profit and cover the expense? The consumer. So I think that without government stepping in I'm really a free market guy, right? But I think that Peter's wrong in this particular scenario, and John called him out on it the other day, and I support my friend John Monroe 100% on it, because we felt a lot of pain. I mean, most of my clients have had furloughs and been laid off, even though these goods are coming in like gangbusters, like we've never seen. The Amazon case being a great point. How can these goods still come in? Well, it's because we have forsaken services for goods. We don't get haircuts anymore, but we might buy a haircut machine or a clipper. Hey, my wife cuts my hair. I never let my wife cut my hair. She does a hell of a job. And she went and bought a $100 pair of scissors from Amazon, and it cut, the right kind of cut for my hair. So, we're buying more goods than ever, and these ships are just chock-a-block full. And we do need regulators looking at the cost of ocean freight. So sorry, Peter. Peace and love. I love you guys, but you're wrong on this one. So let's go. Let's keep going on. I don't want to keep you guys from the ball game. The next thing I wanted to talk about is, Parkland Mills. So Parkland Mills, geez, you know what? It would help if I share it. I tell you what, I am still thinking about my power outage there. I mean, not my power outage, but the Chrome. You know what? Maybe I need to upgrade Chrome. That could be the problem. But I think we're in business now. So Parkdale Mills, Park-Who, and it's because they're the little company that no one ever really heard about. So Parkdale Mills got a $500 million government contract for disposable COVID gowns, right? And this all happened in a kind of a scenario after Mike Pence had visited, and now they make 25,000 gowns per container. They need about 2,600 containers for this contract. So far, about 10% of that has shipped from Honduras. Now, Parkdale does have mills in North Carolina and other locations. It's unclear how much of the Parkdale's production is taking place domestically versus these imported containers from Honduras. But the thing that I wanted to talk about with Parkland, just to put this a little bit in context, because I never heard of Parkdale Mills, and I checked them out, and they are moving, all these containers. I verified all this myself. But if you take a little look at something USA Today had put together, I think you'll find this pretty fascinating. So USA Today had put together a list of all the top players that won big COVID contracts. And you can see here, there's an article on this back in June. And I won't take the time to obviously read through each one of these, but you can kind of see where it ranks it from number 30 in the value of the contract all the way to number 1. So, you just kind of fast forward to the end here. And what's really, really interesting about this is that number 1 is 3M. And of course, Trump was all not gung-ho, but gunned down on 3M until they made nice. And there you can see there 3M got a $1.3 billion contract, which kind of only makes sense, right? But number 2 in the whole country is Parkdale Advanced Materials, which also goes by Parkdale Mills. They got a $1.1 billion deal, $500 million of it to make these disposable gowns. But I think the one thing that really was interesting, and again, when I try to tie all this together, something very obscure had happened that I wanted to share with you guys about the Postal Service. Originally, there was a plan for the Postal Service to deliver 3 or 4 masks to every American. I don't know if that ever really became part of the mainstream. Let me share with you. I can tell you that with 100% certainty, there was a plan for the government to distribute masks via the post office. This is an article back in April of 9th of 2020. And one of the things that you want to focus in on here is it talked originally about Parkdale making these masks that the post office would distribute. Now, this got nixed down the line. Obviously, the post office never brought masks to my home, and probably not to your home either. But you can see here, it's really interesting in this particular article. It talks about the fact that the coalition will be making 500 million masks, which will be shipped to every household in America by the U.S. Postal Service. So that never happened, and that was back in April. Now, kind of follow the money on this, right? Because it's really kind of a nice little expose. Now, I don't have any inside information, and I'm not insinuating that there was any quid pro quo here that you may be thinking. This is more for entertainment value. I'm trying to help you understand some of the dynamics of what big importers and exporters do in our country. So keep that in mind as the backdrop. And I want to bring you off to the next slide. We're almost done here. Thanks so much for bearing with me and on the technical issues as well. So let me talk about the next issue on Parkdale, trying to bring this home. And you can see here that the one thing that was really interesting about the April 9th issue, and that didn't happen, then all of a sudden April 27th come, and they're just getting ready to get awarded this $500 million medical gown. And they just happen to have hosted Mike Pence, where this was all happening. And that is not the factory where Pence is at, but basically you can see here, Pence now heads the White House Coronavirus Task Force, and Parkdale landed a massive $531 million contract to make 60 million gowns for the Department of Homeland Security. This award clocks in as the 3rd largest in spending, USspending.gov, for COVID-19 contracts. Really interesting stuff, right, guys? And then if you take that fast forward, so we had April 9th, they were going to do the masks for the post office. That failed. Then they hosted Pence, and they were getting ready to get the contract. They got the contract. And then the final activity in this chain, and thank you for bearing with me because there's just so many screens here I want to make sure we help you with. And so the final activity in this chain is the actual award. And so this is, again, very obscure stuff. And you'll only hear this here on Steve Ferreira, host of OK Boomer Live. We're bringing you an update on ocean freight efficiencies and inefficiencies in the market. I guess that's a really good way to put it. So here you can see the coronavirus contracts, and you can see here May 2nd, the effective date of the $543 million contract. Parkdale is a first-time government contractor, and the action is for not only 7.5 million masks, but 600 million reusable gowns, right, for COVID-19 protection. And you can see the order of the award. So it's pretty interesting stuff, right? In terms of like, I guess, I look at, my own work back in 1993 or so. I got a government contract, and, it wasn't all that difficult. I mean, it was a lot of red tape, but I mean, if you are in the right situation, mine was for auditing the government invoices, but, and I won that, right? Which is, super prestigious. But Parkdale is in the right time, in the right place. And, they seem to be doing, they've got a huge contract. Their product flow is going like gangbusters. They seem to be focusing on Central America, which is, again, kudos for them because it keeps the supply chain much shorter. And again, I can't comment on how much they're producing in America versus importing it, but that is something to keep an eye on. So last but not least, I think that one of the cool things I wanted to talk about on the show today is, I think it's the last thing and final thing, is the single largest ocean contract I've ever seen. I stumbled across this in shipping data, manifest data, and it's just amazing with the just how well the machine is that is this particular company, that I was able to, with my, of course, I'm pretty advanced, I think, in terms of what I can find data-wise. I don't think there's anybody in the game worldwide that can't navigate this data better than I can. I think, we have seen that, and I always appreciate your feedback that that's one of the things I'm really good at. And it's one of the reasons why I produce such high-grade refunds for my clients. But here we go. Let me share this. And now I'm purposely not talking about some of the more specific details of the agreement, the contract, because I certainly don't want malicious NVOs or some China NVO to hijack the contract number and run with it. But let me show you what I'm referring to here, and I'll share my screen, and we'll get back to the last part of the presentation for tonight. So Walmart. So Walmart's humongous ocean contract with CMA. So I found it's just out in the open, right? I mean, I just typed a few things and did my own search, and I found that Walmart just signed in May 1, 2020, 250,000 TEU contract with CMA for 1 year. And what's really interesting about that is it's actually very soothing, right, to know that they did that, because they signed it in the middle of a time where no one really knew, right? They bet on the come that the market was going to blow up, right? And Amazon did too. So let's tie it all together. Amazon's tripled their volume. Walmart signs a 250,000 TEU deal with CMA, and the war room planning right now in Bentonville and Marseille just must have been off the chart for the last 2 weeks or so, or 10 days while the cyber attack took place. So it'd be really interesting. I think a backstory would be, just what happened there in terms of did this throw off Walmart's supply chain at all, and possible, I said back to school. It's crazy. Black Friday, holiday plans in terms of, product coming in. Now, they might be out of the woods, right? Because they still have some flex time, but they could be behind 2 weeks. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting to see if truck space, if all of a sudden, Walmart, is just, translating a lot of this stuff, or, doing something, a new behavior, right, to make up for the cyber attack that happened at CMA. But I think it's really, really interesting to note that I did a study. I didn't want to put it on the chart here because I didn't feel it was the full quantification of data, but I looked at Target stores, and there's a way to measure Target's import velocity by using a certain code that Target always uses on their import data. And so I used that code, and I found something very strange. I found that from this period, January, October 2019, Target had shipped 73,000 TEUs. And this year, 2020, which is a real hot year, with Amazon and Walmart's explosiveness, Target only had 75,000. I say only 75,000, but they did a heck of a job too, right? I mean, obviously they increased the yield, but only by a little bit over last year. Now, some of the explanations for that could be that, they did a lot of forward loading on some staples. When I say staples, I mean like furniture or, stuff that they knew that was going to run through different seasons. And their warehousing is able to support that. Or the other thing too is that there's a much more reliance on drop shipping, and getting importers, buying product from the famous mattress manufacturer Zenus will, obviously drop ship into Target. So that 75,000 is more of kind of a target number, pardon the pun, right, of just a certain code that I'm tracking for Target. But nevertheless, it gives a great handle on the velocity of shipments that Target may be handling. But I thought that Walmart signing the deal, said to me, it's like, I think everything's going to be okay, because why would Walmart commit to such a huge contract? Now, again, you probably could say that they have an out clause if the economy tanks or something, but I don't think so. I'm not going to be too Machiavellian here and read into, anything that could get them out of that deal. But I think it's a great deal. I think it's a huge contract. It's probably 25% of Walmart's lift that they've embraced CMA, right, as a partner. And it will just be interesting to see if they're able to carry through and keep everything in stock that they want to have as we start to go forward here. Let me just check real quick on the dashboard to see if there's any comment or questions. I think we're good with that presentation. And I just wanted to say thank you for the patience you had with me tonight and watching this in two parts. Do let me know through the link below if you have any questions or comments. And as always, you can reach me at oceanaudit.com. And it's been my pleasure to present to you tonight. Signing off, I'm Steve Ferreira, CEO of Ocean Audit, host of OK Boomer Live, also Lapel Pin Guy, and we'll see you in a few days. Cheers.